Welcome back, sci-fi fans, to the Science Fictionary podcast. I'm Andrew. I'm here with Marisha, and we're back with our very special guest to discuss the finale of Secret Invasion. So we've got Nicole is joining us, and we've got Ro from the Scare Podcast.
What's up?
And so we talked. It's been a week, I guess, a week today since we talked about the first 5 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Some
People were very enthusiastic about the series.
One of us stayed up till 2 a.m. to watch it.
Yeah, I heard.
Did not help my feelings about That's the thing I've discovered. If you do stay up till 2 a.m. to watch something, if it's not good, like, you have a more visceral reaction to it.
That's why I decided to get my beauty sleep.
Take it personally, huh, love?
Yeah. Anyway, we're thanks for being back, guys. Let's see. We'll see if anybody shows up. We are live, right? Because I've done this. Can you hear me over there? I want to make sure somebody not on the stream can hear me, so it's not like last week. Oh, good. It's working.
I was just gonna say, I'm doing the same, about to go check.
Make sure I'm not doing another 15-minute long stream where nobody can hear me.
There we go.
There we go.
We got Dave.
Dave, welcome to the chat. We're gonna give it just a second. What's going on this week? What's everybody up to? Have you watched anything cool? Anything new? Nicole?
Well, I'm a Hardy's fan, so I've been watching. Of course,
what is that?
Invasions. It's on Hallmark. I know it's not your thing. It's okay. I still love you, Ro.
Okay, I was thinking like Hardy's the restaurant. And I was
Right,
like,
I'm like, they've got the best chicken wings.
That's their big hashtag for When Calls the Heart. It's something done in Canada. I like historical and romance and stuff. So it's a nice little in between, Ahsoka and Secret Invasions and Loki and all that jazz. So, and then looking forward to, we had to move our show from this past Sunday to next Sunday. So we're going to be getting ready to do the Goofy movie. So we're excited. Double feature.
Oh, that's fun.
And hello, Backyard TARDIS.
Yeah, I missed the tweet the other day about the postponement. I was like, where are they? Why aren't they on? And I finally was like, oh, maybe I should actually just go look, see if there's anything on Twitter. And there was. So.
Yeah, it was a last minute decision, but we made it, when someone's not feeling well and we're like, okay, we knew the other person wouldn't want to be involved. We're like, no, we're just gonna give it another week and that's okay. We'll be okay with it. So
yeah, we've canceled a few things over the course of time, usually because I'm sick, but occasionally somebody else. This is just like one time I was like, no, I'm good. I can do it. And I listened back to it and I was like, oh my God, I sound like death warmed over.
I think there was actually an audio episode where you didn't feel good and David didn't feel good. And we did it anyway. And when I was editing, I was like, oh no, this is real bad. And I ended up, we just shelved it. I never did anything with that episode. It was basically me having a conversation with myself. It was like, I would ask a question and everybody would kind of give like a 1-word response. I was like, oh no. Nick, welcome to the chat. What about you, Ro? You, got anything going on this week or anything you're watching? Or
you know what? So this Thursday or Wednesday, depending if we get 13 more people in the chat, I'm dropping an episode on the original Planet of the Apes.
Awesome.
We had a really, really great conversation with my buddy Alex. First time on the pod, having him as a guest. I noticed that he was posting a lot about the Planet of the Apes, and I think he was doing some research. And I said, "Hey, let's do a show." We had such a great time that I think I'm going to be doing a series on all of the original Planet of the Apes movies. I just watched. Last week I watched Beneath the Planet of the Apes, and then last night I watched Escape from the Planet of the Apes. And I'm gonna take that journey tonight. I'll probably watch the 4th Planet of the Apes movie. I think there's 9 of them, 6 original ones, and then 3 boots.
Yeah,
reboots. So
are they making another one?
I'm not sure.
Floating around sometime in the last year that maybe they were doing something else with the franchise, but
Could be, but it's it's a wonderful franchise. I think the original Planet of the Apes for me was as a kid I found it astounding. And obviously, I think when you talk about cliffhanger endings, you got to be crazy not to include the Planet of the Apes as one of the most influential endings of all time in movies. Uh, I'm really looking forward to kind of releasing that this week, and then continuing our conversation on the Planet of the Apes. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I've never actually, and I hesitate to actually admit this, but I've never actually seen the original Planet of the Apes. I'm like familiar with it. It's one of the most widely parodied, damn dirty apes.
Yes.
Dave wants to know if you're including the Tim Burton.
No, we're just doing the original run. If we change our mind later, but I remember watching it, and obviously, I'm not a big fan of the new ones. I know, I think they did 3 or 4, 3 of them.
So.
Yeah. I love the charm of the old stuff. I love the charm of the old apes. There's a lot of cool stuff there.
Yeah, and I enjoy the new 3, but there's something really as just sci-fi. Like they're good. They get a little deep, but nowhere near the level that the originals do. I mean, the originals are real thinking man sci-fi.
Yes. Yeah. Very very deep.
To watch Andy Serkis kill it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big proponent of movie technology for sure, but absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and kind of get into Secret Invasion a little bit. Just immediate reaction, Nicole.
I personally liked it. I enjoyed it. I watched it twice in the same day. My actually been 3 times. I liked it. Did I love it? No, I liked it though. I did like it.
Yeah,
that's good.
Ro?
Lackluster. You guys, we talked about this last week. I really enjoyed the series as a whole, and I had some really great expectations for this the finale. It's funny because I'm not the type of guy that really relies on expectations. I'll think about something, but I think this time it really kind of took me for a loop. That they could have done, a number of things that we talked about last week, but I think some of those things would have been amazing and kind of epic to top off this series that I was enjoying for the longest time. But that didn't seem to happen. I think I don't know, this last episode really just wasn't. I don't know. It lacked something, and I think it lacked a certain shine, a certain direction. I feel like it. The entire series, after seeing the ending, I just feel like the entire series kind of dragged to a anticlimactic end. And but I mean, like I said, I enjoyed the series overall. It's almost like watching House. What is it? The House of the Dragons show, and then it's phenomenal up until the last 2 seasons.
A Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Yeah. So yeah. I don't know if we'll get into specifics in a bit, but
Marisha.
Yeah. We all read your message in the chat.
I was not a fan. The show was fine. Like I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was just kind of like, okay, we'll see where this goes. And it got to the last episode, and I was like, this is where it went.
Yeah.
I really was not a fan of the Super Scroll fight. Like in the first place, the whole like how we got there thing. It's like it didn't. I'm not surprised that you like that part. Because I know, like I am told that it's very like very comic-y.
It is.
So like that makes sense. I did not feel like it translated well to live action. And I feel like there was a lot of like, and this happened because the story needed it to.
Yes.
Like it a lot of convenience things in this episode. And it didn't. So my when did Elijah watch this? Because he was telling me how he was like, Mom, the thing is, like Captain Marvel doesn't even matter anymore because like that whole movie was about deciding the scrolls were good, and so now the scrolls are bad again. I was like, well,
yeah, I mean, he could have got that. They did watch the first episode, so he could have just got that, taken that away from the first episode.
True.
He also lurks, in the back
true.
of the room when he's supposed to be in bed. So
that's true. But I was like that. It didn't feel like there was like a good like story arc. I didn't feel like this was a good conclusion for the story arc, and I hated the fight.
Yeah,
really
I mean that's kind of where I'm at. I feel like the finale opened more doors than it wrapped up things.
It did definitely feel like to be continued.
Do you think that was by design? Because
I do. I mean, I think it's a lead into Brave New World.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like when you're telling a story, you still need some arcs to have a full arc in your show. And I don't know. I'm kind of like you used a good word. It's lackluster. I feel like there are points that are, so the acting stays phenomenal. The acting performances are great, but I feel like we just kind of breeze by story points and things without any real no resolution. But I feel like sometimes we kind of like have a point here and then we don't do anything with it. I feel like the whole thing with the Super Scroll, I thought the fight, the CGI in the fight's kind of bad, which took me out of it at times. But I think as much as anything, one of the things they chose to do was to give them so many powers that, and a lot of them are characters that nobody cares about. Well, I mean, they're using like it's like Thanos's henchmen, or like make up like half of the power sets, right? So they're using, Ebony Maw and Proxima Midnight and things like characters like that's powers in the fight. And like Marisha was going, whose is that? And I'm going, I don't know. I felt like they could have kept that more contained to the Avengers power sets. One would have simplified that, whose powers are being used here. But I don't know. I just kind of my general thoughts on it is I was really just kind of let down by it. I expected more. I think it's because I really thought this was going to be the biggest and best show that Marvel had ever done. And while I think and there are things like the acting is some of the best acting in the MCU. It is, but I kind of feel like the actors carried. I feel like the actors were carrying more than their weight just to make it watchable.
Yeah.
Let's see. Joker Voice has joined us in the chat. Welcome. But yeah, so let's get into detail. Let's kind of.
I want to hear Nicole, because she was like cringing and in pain when you were talking about the fight.
I'm sorry to bring you in. I don't want to bash on something you enjoyed.
No, it's all good.
but-
This is how you have good conversations.
Yeah.
You have various conversations. This is how it's done. You know, we
Viewpoints,
don't
different
rip each other
viewpoints.
apart. We enjoy each other's, views. We're good. I liked the show. I loved the acting. Like
Yeah.
Olivia Colman killed it. I loved that. John Cheadle, he really did. He was we got to see him expand in ways we haven't really seen him expand in Marvel. Same as Samuel L. Jackson, or even for me, Emilia Clarke. I haven't seen much of her acting because I might have not watched another particular show, because I heard about the last two, so I didn't watch it at all. So I was, again, you got to kind of see them expand in ways we hadn't seen before. But again, Olivia Clarke is my favorite of this particular series. Give me Olivia Clarke any day. Coleman, not Clarke.
Olivia
Coleman.
Coleman.
Coleman. I know
Amelia
that.
Clarke and
Man.
Olivia Coleman, just to
Yeah.
keep it, those
Yeah.
rhymey names there.
Yeah, exactly. My brain was doing a switcheroo.
Yeah, no, but she was, man, always like,
I could be your best friend, or I don't have to be your best friend. Would you
Or-
like cake? I'm like, yeah, I'll have cake, and I want you my best friend.
We found Cam.
How about that's like the equal
Yay.
to like 15 row. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Cam. But anyways,
My milk carton worked. We found him.
There you go.
So, but yeah, I mean, I loved the acting. Oh my god, and Kingsley Bender. I
Yeah.
wanted more
Yeah,
graphics.
I don't think
I
the
loved
acting.
graphics.
Yeah,
I
I don't think
believe
the
it.
acting was a problem in this. I think everybody
No,
did stupendously well.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not any point where I have an issue with the acting in this.
So
I mean,
the
Amelia
acting
Clarke's
videos.
character is pretty one note, but I don't think they gave Amelia Clarke anything to work with.
Mm.
Like, I mean, like she has very few, lines even. Her character says more when she's Nick Fury at the end of this episode than she did the whole rest of the season.
I know. I loved that scene. When she came, when he came out and then he turned to her, I was like, like my jaw just dropped. I was just like not expecting it. That's the one thing with this particular, again, usually I have predictions. Last week I tried. So one time I got it all wrong, and I didn't have any real predictions this time around. And so I guess I enjoyed just not knowing this time around.
Yeah.
It was nice just enjoy. So when she came out, I was like, oh my God. And then they got to the battle. I know I might be the one who liked the battle. That's fine. Well, okay, I'm not by myself because my best friend also liked it. And I remember I was able to go, oh, I know about Mantis. I knew about this one. I knew about that one.
Mhm.
Because they did use various from the Guardians as well. And I did. I liked seeing it. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's different. Not what I was expecting. So, and I was okay with being, sometimes maybe, I don't know. I like to enjoy things in a way that like maybe I didn't expect it. And it's, sometimes it just kind of take it as you goes. I don't know. It's how I go.
You know what though, Nicole, you don't have to explain why you like it. You like it, that's fine. I mean, it's fine.
Well, I'd love to hear the things that you loved about it.
Yeah.
I don't have to agree with you.
Oh, absolutely. I agree to disagree. I'm absolutely okay with that. There are plenty of other stuff that we all love together. We're good about that.
It's
So.
true. So one of the things that I kind of like after the episode was over, is as much as I really didn't like the Super Skrull battle, I kind of wondered about people who were kind of fans of, who are comic book fans who, kind of have a history, an emotional history with Super Skrulls. If that would affect it. Like, do you think that that's
Explain yourself, Nicole. Explain yourself.
He wants me to explain myself?
No,
Well,
you
what
don't have
part does he want me? What part, Cam? Just what very specific part? And I can go from there. But back to Marisha.
No, so was it the kind of comics, the really comics inspired Super Skrull thing? Do you think that was something you really loved about the battle, or did you just
I can't.
to. We found Cam.
That's great.
It's awesome that you had that graphic ready.
I I know. What timing?
That's hilarious. What is time? Oh wow. That's fun.
Start from there, Nicole.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nicole.
Oh dear Lord. Well, that's a whole nother day. That's a whole different show.
Marisha, back to your question. Are you
Yes.
asking wow, that's a big Red 5 network logo. Are you asking then for people that are really familiar with the storyline in the comic books, did the change in this did it affect the enjoyment of this series because of that?
Yes. Do you think that you enjoyed especially the fight more because you were kind of invested in Super Skrulls as a concept, whereas me having no previous experience with Super Skrulls was not a fan? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I will say this. This is the one time I actually did not go back into and want to read my books or read my comics, which is also something that's also different because usually I cannot wait. Like when we were doing Miss Marvel, I loved Miss Marvel. And I remember I had to get back into my, my various comic books and find out things. And I wanted to do that. This time I didn't necessarily pick up and want to go research, which is different. I'm not used to that either.
Yeah, with comic book adaptations to live action, there's going to be something that's different. They can't follow it to the T.
Yeah.
Whether it's because been there, done that. You're gonna, I don't know, not offer anything new to the audience. I don't know. I watched the show for what it was. I enjoyed most of it. Like I said, I there's like little details, especially little details in the last episode that really, bothered me. But I think for the most part, like you guys were saying, it lacked that oomph for me. The last episode for sure. And yeah, did we actually, how many episodes was it? 6?
6.
Did we actually need 6 episodes to tell this story? Because it almost seemed like we said earlier, it seemed like a kind of like a either a prequel or a flashback scene in a larger movie.
Right. I think it was definitely set up for a couple of things. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's
which is a continuing of that. So
yeah, I don't know.
So I will say there's just something off in the writing in this season, the whole season, and I feel like it kind of manifested in a lot of ways. Problems that were created through the season manifested in a lot of ways in this finale. I feel like the whole thing, like the hospital scene, like cool kind of espionage scene, but they made the president a complete and total fool.
Yeah, I mean, it's not totally unbelievable.
Well, at this point, no, it's not.
But for the past decade or so.
But no, I mean, they made. I mean, the president, like demanding the gun off of one of his security guys, and that whole thing, and then we just kind of do this really boring, like, no, he's lying, no, she's lying, like.
You feel it was rushed?
I feel a lot of things were rushed in this finale. Yeah. And then I feel like we just kind of like breezed through this point of like the whole speech that he gives at the end that causes things to go into chaos. Like, man, why couldn't we have done that halfway through the season and had some like real stakes going on here?
You mean like maybe rearrange how things maybe were set up, like having that more like in the middle and let things kind of.
I think you could have personally almost opened the series up with the discovery that Rhodey was a Skrull, and then this speech against Skrulls. But I don't know. I just, there's a lot of things about the way it's structured, and I know it's meant to be set up for Brave New World, but I feel like
you don't think we'll get anything in the Marvels that comes first. And he's going to.
I mean, maybe, but like I hope it like. So the Amelia Clark thing, like of all the powers to give them, I really like thought the whole giving them Captain Marvel's power was a bit over the top.
But you guys, you just said you guys wanted somebody, from somebody.
You know what? Here's a nitpick. Yeah, a nitpick for me on that DNA is that all the DNA was like mixed into one vial. That bothered me a lot.
Use and abuse.
I don't know why.
Mascot here getting in the way.
But I don't know. I felt like, because they stayed away from some that they, and I don't even know what their reasoning for staying. I mean, we don't have Scarlet Witch or some of these others. And I've seen the argument, well, theirs is mystical. I'm like, well, Captain Marvel's is from the Tesseract. Like we could I think that they went way over the top in creating a character in a TV show who is at least in the top 3 most powerful villains, or top 3 most powerful characters in the MCU now.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like that was just a bit over the top. I didn't feel like they needed to do that to have the same thing play out. Now, maybe they have a plan for that character in the future, using that specifically, but I don't know. But there are things.
To me, Amelia Clark seemed like a fish out of water, especially in the action scenes. I think Joker Voice said something to that effect.
So this was silly when she uses Ebony Maw's powers. Like she suddenly has Ebony Maw's rings as well. And it became.
I mean, they are shapeshifters, so I mean, there is also that aspect. But it was.
Yeah, but the rings aren't part of his DNA. She's never seen Ebony Maw.
Maybe she has. Maybe she saw him on TV. And was concerned about continuity. maybe she works in costumes or props and was like, nope, got to have that continuity there because people are going to nitpick it.
Cam's talking about a different show.
Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah.
Well, because I think that's what he wanted to see. He wanted to see those superpowers, and he didn't get those superpowers. He got Marvels instead. I mean, silly of Marvel to use Marvels.
Nick, I mean, obviously, yeah, everybody would like to have seen the Super Skrull, and they probably will still introduce the Super Skrull when they do introduce Fantastic Four. We're probably still going to be doing that storyline. Everything's going to get so slowed down now. I'm not even sure what they're going to do. The longer this strike goes, the longer everything gets bogged down again, though.
Yeah.
Probably resulting in things released out of order again. So we'll see what happens there.
And I think Fantastic Four has been shrouded in so much red tape that even introducing them now, after a few years of Disney acquiring Fox, et cetera, I think it still would have been too soon. I think. They're biding their time trying to figure out how to introduce, the cacophony of Marvel characters.
Well, we're still several years out from seeing Fantastic Four. So
yeah.
I mean, but hello, Agatha Harkness. Fantastic Four, Agatha Harkness, just saying. I mean, technically that's true.
You got to realize there were a lot of things put in motion.
That is in there. That is true.
There were a lot of things put in motion in the MCU 10 years ago. I mean, when they had no idea they were going to own Fantastic Four and the X-Men and all that stuff. So
I love Agatha Harkness.
Me too. I can't wait.
Agatha Harkness is great. Sorry, Joker Voice.
Yeah,
I can do without her.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I
think she's great.
Yeah, she's awesome.
I think she's great.
Ro, what did you think about the fight at the Super Skrull fight?
Oh man, this is going to sound so weird, but I think we've been privy to some really cheap looking CGI in the Marvel Cinematic Universe on the small screen, and I think I just got used to crappy CGI. It didn't bother me.
Okay.
That weird orange.
You're also a very trained eye, I think. And that's also something.
Yeah. But
it changes things.
It definitely does, and I think I did see that it just looked off, but I think the CGI in that fight, I think, was the least of the series problems, because we hadn't had a really big battle that would warrant some major CGI up until that point. Everything else has been kind of practical or organic. You didn't need to really see any of that stuff that we saw in that last episode up until that point.
Yeah.
Joker's voice's head is exploding because we're agreeing on a couple of things at the same time.
Do you have like an explosion you can play, Andrew?
I don't, unfortunately. But
Next time.
Yeah, next time. But like what did you? I mean, I know, Ro, you said that it was lackluster for you, but like, what did you enjoy? I mean, that indicates that there are things you liked about the episode.
Yeah, I mean, again, just the stuff that we already talked about. I really enjoyed the acting. Olivia Colman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm like, well, Olivia, which one was it? I mean, her character was great. I think they had a lot. There's a lot of setup in that episode. I think there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes that kind of put the dominoes in place for us to see what comes next. The biggest thing really that I didn't like, and I know I'm going against your question here, but I feel like there really was no conclusion to this series. There was no conclusion, there was no resolution for me anyways. It was almost like we got half an episode, and then when it ended, and then Nick Fury and the missus went up to the ship or decided that they were going to team up or whatever, I was like, okay, we could have guessed that this was going to happen 3 episodes ago. Where's the rest of the episode? So yeah, it was just too short. It seemed too rushed. But like I said, I mean, I enjoy everything that we already talked about. Not only in this episode, but in the rest of the series. The acting was great. Yeah, I don't know. There's something definitely missing.
Yeah. I mean, the espionage element was definitely an interesting kind of direction for the MCU. So I was really excited to kind of see what they were going to do with that. And I think there were some really interesting things kind of brought up. There were some, I think that there could be some, I think that maybe they could pick up some of those threads. I think they might could pick up some of those threads at some point. I think that there was a lot of, like I said, I think there were a lot of interesting things kind of thrown out there. Like, okay, so how long have some of these people been, not themselves? So like,
Right.
What was the agenda? Like, so then, you go back, you're like, so then I think it'll be interesting to go back and watch some of the older movies and shows and see, like how you can view them differently if you know that this person is really a Skrull. I think obviously the Soul Skrull thing is going to be around for a minute.
Yeah.
So I think that will continue to, I think we're going to continue to work with some of these concepts, but it would have been nice, I think, for it to feel. So here's something I'm kind of noticing. Is a little bit of a trend in some of these MCU shows. Now, some things, they're going to be multiple seasons. So you are expecting, a cliffhanger at the end. But sometimes it's just sort of like, and it's like kind of just a sort of just filler, to get you ready for the next thing. Where I would like to see things be a little more complete in and of themselves.
Well, that's kind of the thing, and I actually, Dave's making a point. Yes, I do think this could have worked better as a film. Obviously, the ending was still going to need a little more resolution to work as a film. And obviously, I mean, so that's been the trick of the MCU, right? That's part of what's made it good is our stories do get resolutions, but they
Right.
still push forward to what's next. This one just pushes forward to what's next with no real resolution. I guess the only real resolution to this in this story is that that Nick Fury and his wife are going to try to make it work for love instead of this mutually beneficial relationship as spies, basically.
Didn't Rose Tico have a line like that?
Something like that.
Something like that, right?
Oh, Rose, that's so sweet of you to remember that about Rose. Oh, we gotta document this day. It's a big moment for
But
Rose.
to
remember about Rose.
I feel like there's incomplete stories. Like we just, Nick Fury has a wife. Okay. But we don't really delve into, like, we kind of rush by the fact that he's got a wife and has for a long time. And we don't really know why, what their relationship is. We're just kind of left guessing right up until the end when they're kind of like, could you love me for me? That whole thing where it's like, okay, so we're now kind of at least admitting that their relationship was about other things than love previously. It was beneficial. They were both spies. They were both able to get information from each other and use each other. And
I found their relationship to be satisfying, though. I think early on, when you learned about it, and we're like, oh, okay, cool. And as the episodes kind of progressed, you kind of saw the duality in the relationship. And you weren't sure if their relationship was out of convenience or, work related. But there was not a point in time when I thought that they were just doing it out of convenience, because I don't know, something about, and maybe it's the flashbacks as well that they had. Between the two characters, but I really felt like they did care for each other, and maybe it didn't start out that way, but as they grew older as a couple, you can kind of see that that they did care for each other. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the the stuff on the ground floor, all that stuff started to kind of bubble back up when the mission, I guess the bulk of the story started to come back. But I was actually really satisfied with their relationship.
Well, and by the end, I think I was, and that's what I'm saying. I think that was the only thing we got any real resolution to was their relationship. But like, we still don't really know anything about her. Like in the end, when he's trying to get her to go help him with this thing with the Kree and the Skrulls, she's like, well, my work's here. It's like, what is your work? We never addressed that. You're growing plants, but I don't understand how that's more important than the future of your people. Like, I thought that's what the show was all about. So it's like there's points like that where we make a statement like, well, my work's here. And it's like, oh, what is it?
What are you doing? What is your,
And I think it's like David. I've got an episode coming out Thursday, and David, we talked about it with him because he wouldn't be able to be here tonight. And he basically said there are parts of this show that feel like they were written by AI, where we're just expected to understand things that no real explanation's ever given for, and there's no previous information in the MCU to help you sort it out. We have the thing where they're keeping, we close with that scene where there's this room with at least dozens, if not hundreds, of people that are, I guess, being used by the Skrulls that are on Earth. But like, I still don't understand. And if I missed it in the show, I'll gladly admit that, but I don't remember anything in the show that tells us why they need to keep people alive.
Well, because you taking it for their faces, their masks, their brains. They're using them. The Skrulls are using them.
How are they like keeping up? Are they continuing to get information for them? I thought they just kind of downloaded all that initially.
No, I think so. I think that's what they did. If I'm correct, that's what I saw. Like when they would take their face, take what they're thinking. Got to keep them alive though for that.
Yeah, I almost thought that they can't they can't replicate a person that's dead.
Right.
For some reason. And I don't know if it's something that I already knew from reading comic books or my sci-fi brain, or if it's something that I heard in the show.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Graphics, the face and body graphics using now so I don't know, because
leverage maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. But then again, we're put on this show to think more than the writers at this point.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, is it because, I can come up with all kinds of stories. Is it because they're just trying to survive and they're really not about killing all these people, but they, so they keep them alive. And, if they are using them, do they have to like come back and like reconnect to that person every so often? Otherwise, like, is it Bluetooth? I don't know. Like,
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So
they have some kind of like telepathic link to them.
We don't have any indication that there's that. So I don't know. And I'm not saying like Nicole may be exactly right. I just don't think that the show gives us that answer. And so I feel like when they show us this big room full of people at the end, that we're supposed to go kind of gasp. And I was kind of like, but why?
Right.
Also, why are those pods different than the other ones?
Well, I think that those are probably in a more stable, more
long-term
medical environment, where the ones Gravik is using are clearly in the, under an old nuclear reactor. So
yeah,
I think his are more makeshift.
Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, it's
You guys feel that this takeover of the Skrulls muddies the entire storyline, that where we had Hydra being infiltrated with SHIELD? I mean, now we've got, are we sure that all Hydra agents are out of SHIELD and out of power? And now we've got this new enemy, or are we building up to fight two enemies at two fronts?
I go back to Val, because I think Val's still there. She's still around. And we know, hopefully that movie happens, because that will help kind of take care of things. Where she's, going back and creating all these other type of Avengers, not really Avengers, but they're the bad guys, they're the good guys. Well, especially Bucky. What?
Super people.
The super people, exactly. We'll go with that. And also, we have to know her husband was one of them. He wasn't a Skrull, but a Skrull used his body. Mm-hmm. And we know that probably happened somewhere between, right after Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
Because that I think it happened after Wakanda Forever. So,
yeah. I think it's going to be interesting to see, like I was saying in the chat, this isn't the direction that I really expected. This isn't the direction I expected Marvel to really go with. The Skrulls as the next big kind of storyline. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously it's something they've kind of been working on, but I do kind of wonder, like, how much of the next phase of the story this is really going to kind of take up. Because I mean, this is a pretty major, this is a pretty major thing going on. And so here's, and I really was kind of expecting this to be a kind of like small scale, it's going to be basically about Nick Fury. So I really wasn't expecting it to be like humanity ending stakes. I really thought this show was going to kind of focus on a little more, your little more kind of classic spy scenarios where, there's lots of murky things going on and people who want murky things. And, they're after, this specific goal, not necessarily like they want to totally eradicate humanity.
Yeah.
And I still contend that it doesn't make sense that they're not calling in the big guns for a humanity ending scenario.
Yeah. I'm still like, and obviously, I mean, I understand like you're not bringing in the heroes because of budget reasons, but
Right.
um,
At least they were mentioned. One of the
Yeah.
things that bothers me, especially when it came to the Netflix Marvel shows, that
Yeah.
there were hints about what happened in New York with the Avengers, everywhere. But something's happened. It's like, why don't you just call the Avengers, or why,
Right.
make a phone call,
Right.
call Tony Stark.
Mhm.
But
And
at least this was mentioned. Like, why don't we call in the big guns? And then Nick Fury's like, well, this is kind of my mess, and I want to fix it myself, or something like that.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Nick Fury wants to sort it himself. I think ultimately it boils down to, he created the mess, but he also he cares about these Skrulls and what happened to them, and he's the one that has now put them. He's played a part in putting them in harm's way now.
So he doesn't necessarily want the Avengers to come in and decimate him.
Yeah.
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 Makes sense. But yeah, it was. I do agree, Nicole. It's not where I expected the story to go. And so there is something to be said.
I mean, they basically did, and I've seen
that.
this pointed out other places, is they basically did what She-Hulk made fun of, right? In the scene where she goes and talks to Kevin.
That was that
where
was
they're
so
talking
bizarre.
about, we do this story, and then at the end we just have this big, colorful, explosion.
Battle.
A battle,
Third act, yeah.
CGI driven battle at the end, and it's like, it's kind of what they did. Like, I just didn't
honestly,
feel like,
even
as a spy thriller, I didn't feel like it needed the big battle.
Yeah.
It
shifted tones. Like I said, you didn't need any of that CGI throughout most of the series. Everything was carried, through pretty well with practical effects and the story plot that was being, told. And then you got this, major superhero stuff at the end.
But man, how good. Now, I do have to say, the I don't know how much of the Skrulls just on the whole were practical and how much of them were CGI, but I did think that the Skrulls looked amazing.
Yeah.
I think
they did a lot of it with prosthetics and makeup.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they used it in a limited way. But there's actually a scene where, I don't remember, one of them's doing something, and you can kind of see the ears kind of bounce. You can tell there's some kind of silicone or.
Where'd Nicole go?
I don't know. She'll be back, I would assume.
I think she had to
There's
step away for a
Cam.
second. She'll be right back.
Let's see. Yeah. It's just it's a totally different vibe from the rest of the show, and
and not completely out of place, because obviously we're still watching a Marvel show, but it and for me it's not that it like threw me off, but it's like, okay, here's where they're going to spend their money. And again, it's the big explosion at the end of the movie, the end of the series. It's like, okay.
But I feel like you could have told this story, and I think I said this last week, I think you could have told this story in 4 episodes.
Yeah.
To go back to what Dave said earlier about a movie, I think you could have done it in 4. And at that point, with the amount of money you spent, why not just make it a movie?
Yeah, and I again, something that I've said in the past on Scarif is that it and I think I mentioned it on your guys' show. It just still seems like they're trying to kind of find their footing when it comes to these television shows, because I feel the same way about Kenobi. Kenobi had a lot of extra stuff there that fans didn't really like, and I think it could have been tightened up to a more concise story, because people went to go see Kenobi because of the story of Anakin, Vader, and Obi-Wan. We could care less about Reva. She was not necessary.
Yeah.
What happened?
Oh, I'm laughing at Cam. You're good.
Oh.
Cam says one of the actors was an actual Skrull, saves on makeup.
Good to know.
It's true.
So Dave talking about, yes, this is, I mean, Cat 2, when we talk about, spy thriller in the MCU, yeah, that's what I thought they were going to do. And
that's what the trailer showed.
And it was. And maybe they should have gone and tried to convince Joe Russo to come back and write it. I don't know. Joe Russo's still making action thrillers over on Netflix now. I don't know how much availability he has, but he's making good stuff.
Yeah.
You
know, so as far as the third act thing goes, honestly, I feel like that even my very favorite Marvel shows, I feel like whenever they're like, all right, time for our third act battle, has never been my favorite part of these Marvel shows. And honestly, I don't mind it in Marvel movies. But I feel like some of these shows, they've kind of gone for a really different vibe, but at the end, it's still like, all right, time for the third act battle.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, like WandaVision was maybe my favorite thing that's been on Marvel TV. But I didn't, necessarily just adore the big CGI battle in the last episode.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if your show was action driven, like something like, Hawkeye. Hawkeye was pretty action driven. There was action in a lot of the episodes. So when you have a big action driven sequence, of course, theirs wasn't as, heavily CGI or anything. It was a lot more practical in that show. But, that one, there's no shock to the fact they did it. It just, because it feels like part of the show. The whole show was action. But yeah, when you do something like WandaVision, where there's very little action, and then you have the big action spectacular at the end, it's like, well, okay. Like, but where'd that come from? And I think it worked better in that one than it has in a lot of them.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, the fact that I didn't really love the third act battle isn't really surprising, because that hasn't been my favorite part of most of these Marvel shows. And I've really, really enjoyed, almost all of the shows that have been on Disney Plus. Yeah. But, like I said, it's probably fairly on brand. That wasn't my very favorite thing.
So what do y'all think about where this takes us in the future? Like, I mean, whether you liked it or didn't like it, it's
paradigm changing.
Well, somehow this show's still higher rated than Ms. Marvel, but I've heard that, but I haven't actually looked at the ratings, because this show only averaged about a 40 or it was a 38 or something for the first 5 episodes, and then fell off to like a 13 for the finale on Rotten Tomato. Now, I'm not like one of those people, like I don't measure everything by Rotten Tomato, but I do think that it's at least a metric that we can look at.
I'm looking at something that says Miss Marvel 98%, She-Hulk 80, Secret Invasion 67.
Yeah.
Okay. That must be on the, maybe, I don't know. I wonder what that's from.
Let me dig a little.
On Google, it's 71%. People like it. 71%.
Yeah.
But it also talks about 66% for Rotten Tomatoes, 6.1 out of 10 on IMDb. But then again, I think every rating system is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah. Wow, yeah. Miss Marvel's got the highest in. I'm looking at a website, thedirect.com. WandaVision's at 91. Yes. And Secret Invasion, yes, it's the lowest one at 67. Miss Marvel is at 98%.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so I mean, where do y'all think? Do you think that this show has an impact on the way Marvel approaches TV going forward?
Oh, so you're not talking about like
I'm not even talking about in universe, because obviously this is just a big big lead up for Brave New World. Like, right. I don't think there's any question about that. So I kind of want to know what you think about, where if this will affect how Marvel approaches, because there has to be a point here somewhere where we go, we're spending incredible, like movie money on very short
series.
TV shows.
Yeah.
As of right now, we don't even really have any idea of how streaming services are actually making money and how much money they're making, because they won't release that info. That's something that's likely to change at the end of the strike.
Yeah.
Is that streaming services are going to have to start revealing how their money flows.
Mhm.
My Paramount Plus subscription is going up $10 come January, so they're making a little more out of us next year. You know, that's a great question. That was something that I have been thinking when Marisha was talking about the paradigm shift or whatever. I think, you know, a lot of people have expressed their opinion that you know, Marvel movies or superhero movies in general have been overused. Obviously, we hear about Marvel fatigue, superhero fatigue, and I think, you know, for the most part, I think a lot of people have expressed their you know, they're tired of superhero movies. I think this show, not unlike Andor, this show I think can be kind of a litmus test for new stories in that universe that maybe are not dependent on men and women in spandex, and more so on the drama, the writing, the story that is involved around that universe. Because I think the consequences of what happened in the MCU when we had the Avengers, when we had Thanos, when we had all that, you know, mind-bending, you know, story elements that affected humanity in a way that, you know, couldn't have been affected if there were no superheroes on Earth. I think that's kind of fertile ground for more intimate stories, or more stories that might, you know, examine those consequences in a way that usually are not brought up in superhero movies. I think in order for the MCU to kind of grow, maybe they should take a look at this series and see where it went right and where it went wrong, in order to kind of make it grow into the future.
Well, given the success of shows like Agents of Shield,
Mhm.
I find it really surprising that they haven't been willing to make more stuff that's just more character
Mhm.
driven rather than actual superhero stuff. I mean, this show doesn't really become a superhero show until until the last act of the
Sure.
final episode.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and of course, Agents of Shield brought in something super powered every once in a while, and you had
Right.
Quake, but it wasn't about the superhero; it was about this team.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I've always been a little surprised that, because those are a lot cheaper to make
Yeah.
than, and I am not entirely sure where all the money went on this one. Some of these Marvel budgets are just starting to appear to be incredibly bloated.
Well, here's the one thing that I do notice, especially on this show, and again, this is what Nicole says. This is coming from my production eye. That they do look like they're shot like movies, like film.
Yeah.
You know, there are some really, you know, great, you know, camera placement and movement and all that stuff. You know, takes a little more time and costs a little more to, you know, to wrangle.
That's true.
But, you know, obviously you've got high caliber actors in this series that salaries need to be paid. You know, I mean, I don't know how many digital extras are used, especially in that first episode where they blow up that Russian square. But yeah, Sam Jackson and his 12-blade German titanium razors.
I don't even know what we're talking about.
I think that's a rider in his contract where he needs to have that in his trailer, just like the green M&M situation. That's how I'm interpreting it, but you never know with Cam.
It's true.
But Dave has a point. This is what I'm saying. It felt really more cinematic than the other shows, and I
would agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely put a lot of the money on screen. Like it looks good. It mostly, until you get into the heavy CGI stuff, it looks movie quality.
Yeah.
The CGI did not look movie quality in that final fight, but I really don't care about. I don't ever feel like my TV shows have to have CGI that's on par with what I see in a $300 million movie.
Yeah.
And that's probably why it didn't bother me as much as most folks.
Yeah. But at the same time, I kind of feel like, I don't know, there's just something about that final fight that just, even if I overlook, even without thinking about the CGI, there was just something about that final fight that I found unfulfilling.
And they went off and killed Gravik. Like, I thought he was going to be like I thought he was going to be a really good villain going forward.
Yeah.
I was really surprised that they killed him.
What the crap?
Yeah.
What the
I mean, like, I guess that was their and we've resolved this situation kind of moment. But I was like, but not that. That's not the resolution we wanted. Like, he was terrible, but he was a great villain.
They would almost have to put like a Loki thing into it, a spin onto it, in order to bring that actor back for Gravik.
Yeah, and you just shouldn't do that too many more times.
Right. And it stinks, because I will say it's the one thing I didn't like, because I really liked the actor who played Gravik.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I personally had never seen him before. This was my first time, and I'm like, I like this
Wasn't
guy.
he in Barbie?
Yeah, apparently
He was in Barbie, but I didn't see him first there. I saw him first here, and I was like, wow, he's bringing it. I love it. And I didn't want him gone, but now Marisha's right. I don't want them to always bring people back just to bring them back,
Yeah. That goes without saying.
Krennic is alive. Hashtag.
That's funny.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm curious to see where they're going to go. I know that this show just hasn't been received the way that, it wasn't what I wanted it to be. It wasn't received the way I'm sure Marvel wanted it to be received. I think it sets up I think what it does well is sets up a lot of really interesting threads going forward.
Well, the director's already online telling us that we shouldn't expect so much from Marvel. So,
oh really?
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel
fans are so. What did it say? It said something about Marvel fans have so much expectations. Are we supposed to cater to those needs? I'm like, well, yeah,
we're the consumers, so yeah,
right, yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. If you don't want to work in Marvel where there's expectations, don't do it. Marvel is one of those franchises. DC is one of those franchises. Star Wars, Star Trek. These big franchises come with expectations. For the last 15 years, Marvel has been the single biggest thing on the planet, entertainment-wise. It's the thing that everything's trying to catch up with. So yeah, we definitely have expectations, and this is really the first time. Like, I've liked all the shows to varying degrees. I feel like this is the first time where I've just felt disappointed in the show.
Sure. I agree.
Like I said, there were enjoyable things about the show, but it's not one I'll probably ever rewatch.
I probably will. Now that all of them are out, I'll probably watch them kind of like back to back, and just to see if
I say that, but I probably, when Brave New World's about to come out, I probably will. So, but yeah, does anybody have any thoughts before we wrap up? Any final thoughts on?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much exhausted the things that we loved, the things that we hated.
Yeah, I got out something I disliked. Who knew?
Yeah.
And Loki trailer dropped though today, unless y'all want to talk about that. But understandable if not.
This I'm very excited about.
Yeah, the Welsh accent. I guess we should watch for probably start watching for Kingsley Benadir. I didn't realize he was Welsh. Guess we
Yeah.
should start watching for him to show up in
Let's see.
Rings of Power, since that seems to be mostly what they're going for.
Yeah, south of Wales, born from an okay.
Oh, cool. Good fun
Interesting.
fact.
Okay, so it's not just like a generic Welsh accent; it's specific, which makes sense.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, good
Awesome.
fun fact.
yeah, awesome. All right. Well,
Did someone start to say something before that got pulled up? I thought they did.
Let's give away some digital
yeah.
Star Wars cards.
ooh, digital Star Wars cards.
Well, Rose got some digital Star Wars cards here. What you gonna do? You gonna ask trivia questions?
I've got 3 questions. Let's give away 3 digital codes from our friends at Top Digital. I got this little swag pack as a promotional thing for the podcast, but I'm going to share some here. And it says collect, connect, and trade. I will screenshot the back of one of these that's got all the codes for you to download, not only the app for the Star Wars card trader for free, but your code where you can redeem a Star Wars digital pack. So I've got 3 questions. And I pulled these 3 questions from a gift that I got today.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's right. That gift. Marisha,
Nice.
you were the
Marisha
second.
Star Wars
one.
costumes.
I thought about you when he showed that picture earlier. I was like, Marisha would love that.
It's beautiful.
Ask myself.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's an awesome book. Andrew came in one day and found the kids going through it. He was like, "Put it back on the shelf."
You guys already have it. Okay, so now I have to get it. So
It's
well,
gorgeous. Yeah.
It is
Yeah,
beautiful.
they're very cool books. The one for the prequels, there was one for the prequels that's got actual fabric swatches and stuff in it. There weren't that many of them made.
cool.
Yeah, limited series. Those are like worth.
Yeah, they're pushing $1,000 now.
Yeah. I have the cheap one that's only 500.
Right, that's the one Marisha has.
on eBay. It's Trisha Bigar, obviously costume designer, but it's Dressing a Galaxy. And I bought it off the shelf because I love Star Wars books and the costumes were fantastic. And I don't know, like 10 years later, I was just kind of like looking through eBay and I'm like, that's $500 now on the second market. Holy crap. And then the other one that you're talking about is like 1,000, 12,000, 1,200, 1,800 sometimes.
Yeah.
Still in the
Yeah,
plastic.
well, they were, and now you can't even really even the secondary market for those kind of ran out. Like,
Yeah,
you can't even
it's
really
nuts.
find one anymore.
Yeah, it's nuts. All right. I've got 4 questions. I'm going to ask Nicole to think of a number between 1 and 4 so I can pick the question and ask it. And then folks in the chat, you're going to have to put your answer. I'm going to jot down the correct answer, and then whoever gets the correct answer has to direct message the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast, and I will screenshot the back of one of these for the digital code and then send it off to you. So go ahead, Nicole. Question 1 through 4.
Number 3, please.
All right, number 3. Question is, what 60s television show did we see the flight suit that Bosk had from The Empire Strikes Back? What 60s TV show did we first see the flight suit that Bosk the bounty hunter in Empire Strikes Back was wearing?
Ooh.
And I'm glad if Nick is still in the chat, he might know. What 60s television show did we first see that flight suit that Bosk was wearing in The Empire Strikes Back? Anybody want a hint?
I'm assuming it's not Batman.
No.
That can't be Batman.
Cam Ray says Lost in Space. That is incorrect.
That's a good guess, though.
It was a good guess. back when John Williams was known as Johnny Williams. Your mom, that is also incorrect, Cam. Thank you very much. And actually, Dave Richards might know, since the show originated on his side of the pond.
Oh.
Dave Richards says Space
Good man.
1999. No, that is incorrect. But I just gave you, I've already given you 3 hints.
3 hints for the number 3.
There you go. Taxi, no.
Was it previously worn by Danny DeVito?
Yeah.
Funny.
I'm surprised Nick hasn't thrown a guess in there.
If he might be,
or he might have sent it to your DM too, because you said to send it to your DM.
No, I wanted, you guys can type it in here. But these are pretty cool. If you guys are card collectors, the digital cards are kind of cool. You can have them on your phone. There's a QR code. No guesses from the peanut gallery. No more guessings. Yeah, Backyard TARDIS is driving. I knew he was driving. He was probably heading to another adventure in locksmithing.
Probably.
Yeah.
All the adventures. Driving. Well, then we'll
All
give
right,
you
next. Well, you can still DM me if you want to participate if you have the right answer. Nicole, actually, Marisha, give me another number 1 through 4 that does not include 3 because we already did 3.
1.
All right. This one's a hard one. Again, taken from this book, Dave Richards' UFO. That is incorrect. Who was the person who played the Tusken Raider who attacked Luke in the first Star Wars? And what was his day job? Yeah. You'll have to Google that because it's
know it's not Troy Kurtzer. Dang it, I'm out. That's the Mandalorian.
That one's a Trevor Beast question.
Okay.
That is a Trevor Beast question.
Very difficult. Very difficult. All right.
Your mom. You used your mom. Nothing if not predictable on the Cam Ray front.
Nope.
All right. Andrew, give me a number, 2 or 4.
Let's go with 4.
All right. So this question is the final question. What are the stripes down Han Solo's pant legs called?
I know.
I was just gonna say, I'm like, I bet you Marisha knows. That's all.
I think Marisha knew the first one too.
All right. But if anybody knows the answer, go ahead and DM somebody and it'll get to us. And I know somebody must know, even guessing. So, but yeah.
I was thinking with the stripes, it's probably like a military kind of thing. Like I think.
Could be, maybe.
I'm pretty sure that Marisha knows.
Fabric
I mean,
stripes.
Technically,
he's not wrong, but yeah. What does it mean?
I mean, I think there technically would probably be more ribbons than fabric.
Captain lines.
Right.
Captain lines. That's great. Oh, goodness.
All right. Well, that's all I got.
All right. Well, if you're watching and you got the answer, send it to Ro or send it to me and I'll pass it to Ro or something.
Somebody do something.
Send it a place.
All right. Well, that's gonna do it for us tonight. Let us know in the chat and DM us or message us or tweet us or X us or whatever it is now. and let us know what you thought about the series. We were kind of mixed on it, but some of us liked it, some of us didn't, but or the ones of us didn't liked it to varying degrees, really. But Want to know what you thought about it. This is that's what we do here. It's about differences of opinion. It makes things more interesting.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up tonight, we'll go around the room, let everybody know where they can find you and what you got coming up. So Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole. I am 1/3 of Used and Abused. We will be back actually this upcoming Sunday for it's a double feature of the Goofy movies. As well, I am part of the Red 5 Tavern that returns this Friday night, but sadly, Eleonora won't be there this week. She'll be there another week. It's all good, but you should watch it anyways. Also, 1/2 of Peace Love Disney. That's on Facebook, and then I am Peace Love Fandoms. I almost forgot what I was part of on Instagram. Instagram that I'm finally back on as of this morning, and Twitter. There you go. All my
Nicole
things.
was bad.
Thanks.
Got kicked off Instagram.
I know. Jeez. What a potty mouth.
I guess. I don't know. Who knows?
It's too funny.
That's funny. How about you, Ro? Where can the world find you on the internet?
The world can find me tweeting and twatting and Xing and doing all sorts of wonderful stuff on the Twitterverse. I am Scarif Podcast. We got a new show coming up on Thursday, so that should be a lot of fun. Planet of the Apes, and then we're going to record some more Planet of the Apes. But then I've got another 5 questions coming up as well that that is in the can. I talked with Nick from Backyard TARDIS. He asked me 5 questions, and I asked 5 questions back. So that should be a lot of fun. Those are always a lot of fun. I always enjoy doing those 5 questions with folks. But absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. Marisha, can people find you online or just here?
Can occasionally find me on Instagram. I'm princesses_and_padawans. And every once in a while I'm on Twitter. I'm Pete Padawans on Twitter.
Awesome. You can find me running the Twitter account for this show at sci_fictionary. You can find both of our podcasts, the Science Fictionary podcast and Coruscant Radio Underground, anywhere that you listen to podcasts.
Oh, we have a winner. Ubaldo said the answer to the first question.
There we go.
Oh, yeah,
Doctor Who.
timing.
See, that was my guess. That was gonna be my guess.
Awesome.
Whenever
we got one of them answered.
It was definitely Doctor Who.
And I'm surprised. Oh, Nicholas, I'm surprised he didn't get that.
Well, he's driving. He was driving.
Yeah.
We don't want him to crash.
No, please don't crash.
He's safe.
Yes.
All right. So you can find all 3 of our podcasts, all 3 shows represented here at bio.link/Red5. They're all part of the Red 5 Podcast Network. And there are, I don't even know how many shows there are over there on the Red 5 Network
30.
anymore. It's over 30.
Over 30.
And
Over 30, yeah.
there are shows there.
Oh, somebody's calling the network hotline.
His grandmother.
there are shows over there for everybody. So definitely go over there and check that out. Yes, Nick, stay on the road. Don't wreck. Thank you to everybody who joined us in the chat tonight. Dave and Nick and Ubaldo and Scott stopped in for a minute.
And
Cam Ray, we've been worried about where you were. I'm glad you popped in. Was anybody else in here? JV was in here. I forgot about that. So yeah, thank y'all for joining us tonight. And until next time, may the force be with you.
This podcast is a member of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts and content creators, visit bio.link/Red5.